1 minute. Okay. Let me just give me a second here. Sorry about that. Okay, can you guys hear me? Okay, it sounds like you can, right? Okay. Um so I apologize about that. Um I thought I had everything set. I mean, my phone is brick. Turn it. Um this whole thing is crazy, really. It's terrible. Um Darn it. It never does this. Can you guys hear me just this way? Is it just fine? I'm just gonna leave it with my computer audio if that's okay. I think that will be the best way that it works. Um, is this all good? Yeah, I mean, I think that. Yeah. Okay. It sounds like audio's good. Anyway, to get back on, this is using my desktop audio, so if it sounds different, it's different, but I gotta figure out my mic. Um, he was accused, Mel Tucker, of sexually harassing a rape survivor named Brenda Tracy, an activist who Mel Tucker brought on to the scene to talk to his football team about, well, just that. Like, you know, being mindful and telling her story and sharing it. And Mel Tucker and Brenda Tracy developed a personal relationship. That relationship evolved and continued to evolve. And overall, what happened was a lack of self-control is the best way I can put it on Mel Tucker's part. He pushed the boundaries, certainly, whether she didn't consent to it or not. She claims to not, but we have to keep in mind that there's processes for all of these things. There, I'm not an expert on this stuff by any means, but you can't just run with his story or run with her story, assume it's all true and move on. The reason that Mel Tucker was fired is because the optics of this, even if he is innocent of the sexual assault charges, the optics of this are horrible. Because now the highest paid coach, probably the highest paid member of Michigan State University, is now a known cheater. He cannot lead young men. The tunnel incident last year is an example of not being disciplined. This, I think, this just makes, that almost puts that to shame. You could have chalked up the tunnel incident to angry players. This is all on the head coach. Easy. And it shocks me. That's why I'm stuttering here. I was still shocked an hour ago before the news was even announced that he was fired. This news broke at 1 a.m. And ultimately, it's shocking. Like, I feel bad for the players. The players have 30 days to enter the transfer portal now. I don't know what's going to happen to Michigan State. I think that this team is, many of you may disagree with me here, but I think this team's a good team. I do. I had them ranked in my preseason top 25, I think for good reason. They have done their work and played 6 to 5 quarters of, in my mind, very good football, and that's more than a lot of even top 20 teams can say against inferior competition. And it's just a shame for the players. Like, Mel Tucker let down his players, and his players are going to be asked very unfair questions. They're going to be harassed themselves by members of the media, wrongfully so. And now you have to search for a long-term head coach, unless you think promoting from within a staff that, from a football perspective, we've questioned is very mediocre, or you bring Mark Dantonio back, which that would be great if the way that his tenure ended was different. Now you have to go on a coaching search again. The good news for Michigan State is they're firing him with cause. I doubt that they're going to owe him any of that money. Any. And if they do, well, they do have a big enough donor base to where I think they can take the hit and survive. Let's see what the chat's saying. Cover 3 is reporting that Tucker is suspended, not fired. I'm just going off of Brett McMurphy and others that I'm hearing. I did see that Chris Solari said that it's rumored he'll be suspended. I don't see any way, though, how he isn't fired. I mean, if he wasn't suspended, let's just put it this way, and he was on the sidelines for the Washington game, he'd get booed immediately. I mean, the atmosphere would turn against a team that many fans were already frustrated with to begin the season. Mel Tucker being suspended, I mean, who would put up with that? I mean, especially in, let's be honest here, the culture we live in where we're so reactive. I don't think that would fly. But that's a very big possibility. Brownie Talk Sports says they needed an excuse to fire him anyway. Well, the interesting thing about that was he was winning. Like, this year, his team looked better than experts predicted. They covered the spread against Central Michigan by a mile. They beat Richmond soundly. They look better right now, in my mind, than Minnesota, Nebraska. I mean, from all standpoints of this, I can totally see, and I said in my video about Northwestern, that I do think to a certain degree that was a total, like, obviously the hazing and stuff happened. It was bad. He should have been fired. They totally used it as an excuse to get someone out who they didn't think was winning them games. That's my opinion. There isn't much evidence to back that up, and I'll take the hit for that. This is been going on since December. The sexual assault investigation, the accusations, all of these different things. It's been going on for a while. The university kept it under wraps. Some will blame them for it, but by my imagination, they probably didn't know of the things that Tucker admitted to until last night. Like that he admitted to having phone sex or whatever that means. Like, don't even want to think about that, but whatever. You're a football coach, do football coach things. Obviously, when you're married and have a family and like in the, the domain of your own bedroom, that's like private stuff that, I nor the government or people should get involved in unless it's not consensual. But apparently he did some of these things on a trip funded by Michigan State. And he lied. His stories aren't matching up. And we don't know whether, there's a lot that we don't know. All that I can tell you, Antonio, he admitted to having phone sex, but he claimed that it was consensual, which, that right there is enough to fire him for cause, even if it was consensual. Doing it with someone who, it's like basically, don't want to go into full detail, but that's like having an inappropriate relationship with a coworker. Like, that's enough for him to get fired right there. And for him to be on the phone, I saw a meme about this. For him to be on the phone with her and trying to engage in a relationship, meanwhile leaving his family, and by leaving I mean not being faithful to his family and his wife. And also, let's be real here, from a football perspective, the program last year was sinking. It was sinking rather quickly. and to use those minutes for your own selfish gain, in my mind, instead of recruiting calls, instead of calling your wife and saying, I love you, or talking through your supposed problems in your marriage, which he admitted to. CBS just corrected he's been suspended, not fired, I guessed. Let me check that. I just went live to talk about it. I'm not a journalist or anything. My major isn't in journalism. It says suspended now. I'm going to see what the Brett McMurphy tweet says. Brett McMurphy hasn't changed it at all. I'm just going to keep refreshing. That's what I've been doing for the past 6 hours, is refreshing what's going on. Oh, yup, Adam Rittenberg just reported. Suspended, and his job going in forward is in doubt. So he's suspended, but I guarantee you he's being fired. I guarantee it. I don't see a way that Michigan State can hold hands with this guy without some public relations disaster. And Ohio, man, what's up with these Michigan football teams getting suspended? What's up with the Big Ten? What's up with Pat Fitzgerald? What's up with, Wisconsin? I remember like 2 years ago, there was a stabbing incident in the locker room. Like, okay. What's up with, Penn State a little over a decade ago? Michigan with Dr. Anderson. Let's not forget about that. Michigan covered that up for years. Michigan State with, Larry Nassar, and now with Mel Tucker. Ohio State has had, I was reading this the other day that surprised me. I think Ohio State had their own team doctor that was doing some weird, very inappropriate, disturbing things. What's up with the Big Ten? That's my thing. What's up with the Big Ten? Can anyone answer that for me? What's up with the Big Ten? JR Jr., I was feeling good about Washington. Still am if Tuck is only suspended. My feeling with Michigan State football is unless one of the coordinators was promoted as a head coach, which would take away from his duties as a coordinator, that the team would remain relatively the same. There would obviously be some fluctuations because of all the pressure and emotions, but this team has talent to it. I mean, watch Central Michigan in the second half and watch Richmond after the first quarter. I mean, this team has explosion at receiver, surprisingly. They have good tight ends. Noah Kim has really good moments. Pardon my dog for being an idiot. I know that you can hear that. Yeah. Oh, someone's knocking at my door. Just 1 minute. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. So back to what I was saying. That was my family just coming home, and I locked the door. What was I saying? Basically about the team, having talent. And that I think they're a good team, and this is what makes this, to a certain degree, even worse if you're a Spartan. Sam confirmed to be a Georgia fan. I don't know what you're talking about there. What makes this whole thing worse is that this team looked like it was going in a good direction. Like, this looked like the bounce back unit from last year, from 2022. We want to see the dog? No. Not today, at least. Maybe in the future. I'm going to definitely go live more often than not moving forward. Sam, you and Connor from Corn Crazed were wrong. Nebraska is going 0-12. Look, this is about Michigan State, but Nebraska is comedically bad. But Nebraska has a head coach with character. I'll give them that. Matt Rule, the way that he respects his players, his opponents, just how he's, calm and humble in the press conferences. He's admitted to mistakes too. See, this is the thing. When I say Mel Tucker should be fired, I'm not saying that you can never make a mistake, but actions do have consequences. I think we can all agree on that. Actions have consequences. And the consequences of this decision are going to be huge. Huge. Because it's also, I mean, there are rumors everywhere that, like, he even did worse things. Or, I mean, just think about what's not being said. It's the same thing with the Northwestern deal. Why didn't they make the investigation public after firing Fitzgerald? Like, you did it, now tell us why you fired him. But no, it has to be secretive. Think about what's going on here. Like, maybe what could be kept behind the scenes still, even though much of this was leaked. Antonio Trivoloni, I hope I'm saying that name right. Correct me if I'm wrong. Where do you go from here? You honestly ride the rest of the season out. I mean, the schedule for Michigan State, Minnesota doesn't look good. Nebraska just looks like... Nebraska looks like a team that Michigan State could beat by 14. I'm not even kidding you. Maryland struggled against Charlotte last night. Rutgers and Indiana are Rutgers and Indiana. Ohio State, I'll talk about them tonight in my reaction video, but they're looking a little down. And Michigan and Penn State right now are the most impressive teams relative to expectations. But I'm not sure that Penn State's better than Michigan and Ohio State. I still don't think so. And Michigan hasn't played anyone yet. So we just have to wait. We have to wait things through, really. Iowa football moments, we need a Cy-Hawk game reaction. I don't know if I can get to that, but you're definitely going to hear me talk about your team when they travel to play Penn State in 2 weeks. That's a top-tier game preview. And for any Penn State fans wondering, I'm previewing the Illinois-Penn State game as well. You actually got the name right. You're the first person I've ever met that has gotten the name right first try. So Trivoloni is the name. Okay. Yeah, I'm not the best with names whatsoever, but I don't necessarily think I'm the worst. And the press conference is at 5 p.m. I do not want to distract from the press conference. I'm going to be watching it myself. So I'll probably get off before then. Title IX investigations are not conducted out of the athletic department, so it could be possible they were not aware of the nature. That's what I heard, and I totally believe that. I do. I don't think that Alan Haller or Tom Izzo were aware of the details. They probably were aware that Mel Tucker was under investigation for sexual harassment, but I can name, like, different coaches who could fit that bubble. Whether it's Matt Patricia with the Lions, that happened. There were sexual assault claims about him. Urban Meyer, I don't know if there was anything filed against him, but there's, I mean, in meme culture, Urban Meyer is known as a sleazebag who is constantly interacting with, women who are not his wife. So it's not that these things are abnormal. In fact, they're sadly normal. They're just wrong. And now that it's all public, everyone's going to be paying attention to this. With, again, the reputation of Michigan State, this doesn't look good. That's really much that I have to say. I'm just going to go through and read the chat. Like, what do you guys think? Brandon, going back in the comments, I heard it's Harlon Barnett for coach. Yeah, that's what it sounds like. And it appears that Mark Dantonio will be, in charge in some way, probably as like an associate head coach, like helping out Barnett. And I think that's good for healing on the team. Barnett coached under Dantonio. They have a good relationship. Courtney Hawkins was a legend at Michigan State. And then there are, others who are on like the team. There are guys on the team like Simeon Barrow and Noah Kim who were recruited by Mark Dantonio, but he retired and then Mel Tucker took over that recruiting class. Blue, even though they are our rival team, I still wish this wasn't happening. It's just uncomfortable and unfortunate. I completely agree with you. Completely agree with you. I It saddens me, especially since, look, last year when Michigan State was losing and when Michigan beat them, I was enjoying it because it was football. But this year, I wanted to see, I like competitiveness. I like it when there are more teams in the Big Ten who are competing and winning than Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State. And when you watch all the Big Ten teams play, who are the best teams, the teams who actually look like they could win the conference? Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State, and no one else. Minnesota is worse than I thought. Iowa looks like Iowa, just with a better quarterback and a defense that might be slightly worse. Michigan State, in my mind, after this weekend, and I have to watch the film on the Richmond game, but I was looking at them thinking this might be the fourth best team in the Big Ten, but they're way far behind Penn State, Michigan, and Ohio State. And with this whole debacle going around, there's going to be more distraction. There's going to be more high-flying emotions. There's just even more now that's in their way. So, it's just, it's sad. Brian Ferentz is behind schedule. If he doesn't reach 25 points per game with McNamara and all, he might as well resign. Is Michigan State football doomed because of the transfer portal and the bad culture? Well, bad culture, we'll have to wait and see. Because Urban Meyer is an example where he was a scumbag, a duplicitous scumbag. We know this about Urban. But his teams at Ohio State were always cohesive. The players always, loved him. And look at Florida. He had a collection of, criminals for the most part. And then Tim Tebow, like a total pastor's kid, on the roster. And he kept them together. So, team culture, I don't know if I'd go as far to say that their team culture is bad. Certainly Mel Tucker made he has like a timetable of all the bad decisions that he's made. The portal is interesting because players have 30 days, if I'm correct, to move out, to transfer away, if they choose, and have I don't think immediate eligibility. They'll have immediate eligibility the following season. I don't know who will leave, who will stay. I think that promoting Mark Dantonio or Harlon Barnett to head coach, like someone who's familiar with the program, will keep in more players than, let's say, promoting Scotty Hazelton or Jay Johnson to head coach. But who knows? This stuff just broke. To make predictions about what happens in the aftermath is, frankly, lunacy. If I'm being quite honest with you all. In regards to what's going to happen at 5 p.m., I don't know. My personal take was make Dantonio the interim head coach, and, with guys like Courtney Hawkins and Harlon Barnett and players who are alumni from Michigan State, who've been longtime coaches, and especially coaches who are leaders, who aren't coordinators, because coordinators got to do their play calling duties. You can't stretch them any more thin. Give some assistants some more power, and to help Dantonio out, because he's been, he'd be perfect for the interim head coach, I think, in the same way that maybe Bob Stoops was at Oklahoma after Lincoln Riley left at the conclusion of the 2021 season. So, say hi to my cat. He's bothering me. That's really all I have to say. I'm just going to read some comments, and I'll stay on for probably a few minutes longer, and then we'll be done here. And then I'll talk about Michigan State Richmond just from the film aspect of things tomorrow, and discuss my thoughts. I'm going to watch the game tonight. Ohio State, Youngstown State should be up tonight as a video, and depending on what's said in the press conference, I will might make a video on that as well. Today I was going to release tons of content. I'm really excited for this week. It's crazy. Complicity in assault and battery, sexual harassment, toxic culture. Mel Tucker is about to hit for the cycle this calendar year. Yeah, it's unfortunate. And Tyler, I plan on doing these lives more. I quickly set this up, and for whatever reason, the lighting is near perfection. I mean, the only, phasing and that's going, pardon me, like the only thing wrong right now with the green screen is my chair. And maybe my hair as well. That's it. I'm slowly nailing this thing down. Jeffrey Hedges, as a Spartan fan, I've always appreciated your unbiased opinion of our school. In this case, though, no criticism would be too light. What an absolute embarrassment. Oh, absolutely. No, I'm critical of him. I'm not necessarily going to criticize the AD in his entirety or these things. I think that he should have been suspended earlier without, and this thing, Michigan State, if they wanted to preserve the football team, if they wanted to do their best, they should have acted on this sooner and tried to get, the quickest state, pour more resources into solving this out, because now what you have is your coach looked like he was about to go on a roll. Hey, get down. To my cat. Your coach looks like he was on a roll and that he was figuring things out, and then you get hit with this, and in less than 24 hours he's suspended or fired, depending on the different reports. That's horrible. That is horrible. Washington already at -16. Yeah, that is... Look, Washington, they're a team that you'll see rise in my top 25. They're decapitating people right now. I think that Washington... I said this in my Michigan video I released earlier, which if you haven't seen that, please check it out and give it a like. I'd appreciate that, and also comment what you think about Michigan. Washington is literally decapitating people. That's what they're doing. That seems to be their identity, is they have a worse ground game than last year, but their passing attack is so insane, and they have an underrated defense to where they tear you apart. They remind me of TCU last year, except more efficient on both sides of the football, which is scary, because that means instead of, TCU being in one-score games, they're just, playing like they did against Iowa State every year, where they're beating people by 30 or 40 points. Washington's one of the best teams in the country. So if Michigan State can just compete against Washington, that would be a phenomenal job by the team. And I think there's a very good chance that because of the home field advantage, with emotions, we don't know that. See, that adds a different layer to all of this, is how the players going to respond. If they rally, Washington has enough weak points and it's enough time zones away where Michigan State could beat this team. That's not unrealistic at all. There's also the option where they fold under pressure and Washington once again takes another team's head off. But I don't know. NAT 3128. I just woke up from a nap. WTF is going on. What's going on is Michigan State is going through something ugly. It's not good. Blue, where can I watch the press conference? Let me check. I'm pretty sure I think it would be on YouTube. A lot of these press conferences you can find live on YouTube because they're meant to be like public events. Public university. So I imagine you can find it on YouTube somewhere. Potentially from, the Michigan State YouTube account themselves. Let me look. Where can I find the Michigan State press conference today? You can view the live stream on the 6 News Facebook page. I imagine you'll find it on YouTube as well, but certainly on Facebook. Just look up, where can I find the Michigan State, whatever. I'm going to copy this link. I don't know exactly if you'll be able to view it from here, but I'm trying to be quick so I can reply to everyone and be efficient. Here we go. There. Wasn't he fired? He wasn't fired. He was suspended. Yeah, I did change that in the title because it seems like he's just been suspended. But at this point, fired, suspended, I think he's going to be fired. Yeah, everyone's saying now, suspended, job security is in jeopardy. This is just crazy. This is insane. So against in week 3, think about it this way. This is insane. No one could have predicted this. Both Jim Harbaugh and Mel Tucker will still be the head coaches of their respective teams. I know for a fact Jim Harbaugh will be. Mel Tucker, we don't know because he could be fired like at any moment. I wouldn't be shocked. They're probably just looking for a way to for sure get out of the buyout money, which is wise. That's a ton of money that you can spend on a new head coach like Jonathan Smith, Lance Leipold. There are so many head coaches that good head coaches that I think will want to take this job. If you're Alan Haller, you have to play your cards right here because Michigan State has new facilities. They have a name. If they turn into a winning product this year somehow and they, go 6-6, 7-5, maybe, Mark with his motivation leads them to an 8-4 season, which I don't think will happen. But all of these things, there are options. There are certainly options. Sam, any status on you creating a podcast? You can find my episodes on Spotify. My brain is just, it's clouded, but Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. You can actually find it in the link of this live video. Just look at the description. You'll see Spotify. You'll see all these different sites where the podcast is. Even if he gets proven innocent, we cannot allow him to enter a locker room of young men ever again. Oh, I completely agree. I completely agree. Completely. Yeah, he can't lead. He cannot lead. Now, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised to see him as like some kind of defensive analyst, like after this season or in a few seasons past, because he is a good defensive mind, and we live in a world where if you are not a good person off the field or outside of work, but you do a pretty darn good job at, what you're hired to do, you will find employment. Oh, I saw your Spotify. I mean like a live podcast. I'll have to investigate that. Brownie Talk Sports. I'll certainly investigate that. I am currently, not going to read that comment. I almost fell for that, though. Harbaugh will be back. That's the difference between him and Tucker. Absolutely. And Harbaugh, look, what he did to me is just like, whatever. It's stupid. Like, why would you lie to the NCAA? And if you truly believe that you can get away with it if you're Michigan, why would you even suspend Jim Harbaugh? But whatever. I keep hearing you Iowa football moments. I might make a short video on that and just publish it tomorrow. But I'm saying might. But I do talk about Iowa, and I do talk about different Big Ten teams depending on the week. So, trust me, you'll hear about your team at some point, if not this week. I showed up. What the heck happened? Mel Tucker and his lack of self-control happened. That's all I'm going to say. If you're new to this stream and you're wondering, like, what is going on, Mel Tucker, football head coach, has been suspended for allegedly sexually harassing a rape survivor and advocate. Michigan State football head coach Mel Tucker was suspended just about 30 minutes ago. You can look at ESPN, Action Network, CBS Sports, Adam Rittenberg, who is a part of ESPN but also has his own Twitter like Brett McMurphy. Any reliable reporter, you'll find it. Yeah. Oh, I know. At least Louis CK asked permission. Thank you for the $2, Dave Valensky. I really appreciate support. Who is Louis C.K.? I mean, maybe I'm just that out of it. I typically... Oh, Oh, yeah, just took a little brief, patrolling of the Wikipedia. Yeah, no comment. Yeah, this is just, it's not good. It's honestly not good. I feel bad for Michigan State. More importantly, for the players. For, I've already forgotten her name. Brenda Tracy. For her, if her side of the story is true, I feel tremendous, compassion and empathy for her. But I don't want to say, like, right now that I'm behind her or behind Mel Tucker, because no one's, confirmed whether their stories are true or not. She deleted her text messages to him in the same way that he deleted her text messages to her, which tells me that the truth of this story is probably in the middle. In which case, I think that you distance yourself from everyone involved if you're Michigan State. And you're like, look, that's on, Mel Tucker, that's on them, and we move right along. And, do what needs to be done the right way, the moral way, the ethical way. But even if Mel Tucker is found completely innocent, you can't have him leading a group of young men. Can't do it. Oh, you are really out of it if you don't know Louis C.K. Well, I don't typically watch TV, and I only have, like, less than 50 songs I listen to for music. So, I don't know. I'm not into pop culture or much of, like, TV or that side of American culture whatsoever. Poor word choice there, Sam. All is forgiven. I don't think that, I mean, like, yeah, you can forgive someone who makes a mistake, but, like, actions have consequences. Dantonio is coming back in some capacity. That's good news. That's the kind of chaos I didn't want. That's pretty bleeped up. Yeah, amazing. That is, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. What Mel did, again, I said this earlier, but there's probably plenty of new faces here now. What he did is completely unacceptable. He cannot be trusted. What Pill Roberts just said, I mean, sums it up perfectly. Lack of awareness. He can't be trusted. He admitted to, quote unquote phone sex. Don't even want to go further than that. Not good stuff. Definitely scumbag stuff too, to be, cheating on his wife, and, they have kids, a family, and instead of, dealing with any potential issues or lack of, relational satisfaction on his part, instead of talking with her about it, he has to just let his, I guess, desires reign, which is not good. That doesn't make a good man in any capacity. Doesn't make a good decision maker. That wouldn't make a good president. Doesn't make a good head coach either. Like, what if you want to run the football, but everything and every, indicator is telling you to pass? Like, you can't just go with what you want to do all the freaking time. It's not good. Oh yeah, Michael Valadez, I saw that. Shame on them for heckling him. I mean, Connor's awesome. That's all I'm gonna say. He's awesome. We're, obviously talking about Michigan State here, but what he does with his work in Nebraska, I hope he gets Joel Klatt on the show. I hope so. I, one day want to get Joel Klatt on here and other people, and I'm going to try my hardest too for the 2024 preseason, and in some capacity, maybe this regular season if I can. But Connor is an awesome dude. Corn Crazed is an amazing channel. Dream in Digital, thank you for covering this, Sam. I agree with everything you're saying. Avery Charles Dewey, being an MSU football fan has been a roller coaster for the past 5 years. Amen. My parents are Michigan State fans. You want to know how I'm a Michigan? Well, I just liked the color blue as a kid and stuck with it. And then I, thanks be to God, had enough good grades, and I don't know what else you want to call it, to get into the University of Michigan. And I'm a student there. And my goal is to graduate from there. So, but I have respect for Michigan State. I respect their football team. I mean, I don't know what else to say. The press conference is about to go on in 15, 16 minutes. I encourage you to tune in because I'm going to be watching. Very curious what they announce. I am going to be covering Michigan State football regularly. Still, this has been a team that I've wanted to cover since the end of last year. I think that they're going to, still be better than last year. I think that with the rumored coaching arrangements that are being made, they'll probably still go bowling. 6-6, 7-5, with a schedule that to me, from my eyes, looks to be weaker than I thought it was, though we're only 2 games in. 8-4 might be realistic, even with this whole thing going on, but I'd look at 6-6, 7-5. Like, setting yourself up to believe that you're going 8-4 with all this going on is lunacy. Because Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State exist, and Washington's coming to town. Face reveal, Nate Watson, yeah. I need to trim my beard, speaking of which, and get a haircut. Yo, Sam, found you and have been a fan for the last season. You're probably one of the most reliable sources of college football media. Thanks for all you have done. Keep being amazing. Thank you very much. I've always appreciated what I would call amazing is probably the sole member of the Chaos Army. Basically a college football anarchist in a certain sense. Always cheering for upsets. I enjoy commenting back and forth with you in the comment section. Thank you. Aaron Taylor, I wonder how many players will hit the portal after this. It's hard to say. I mean, if they... that's so hard. I mean, I could see a scenario where no one leaves. I could, with Mel Tucker, he's not being fired yet. If you're like Jacoby Windman, for example, or a lot of these MSU players, the better players, this is their last year of eligibility. You got to stay here and you got to rock out. If you're those players, you got to be motivated by this in a certain way. Sam, do we know anything about what he has admitted to, or is it just accusations? He did admit to quote-unquote the Senate. Amazing nickname, good Emperor Palpatine profile photo. He did admit to having phone sex, and let's just use the euphemism of feeling himself while he was on the phone. Gosh, that made me cringe. Yeah, college football anarchy does sound amazing, but Mel Tucker admitted to, phone sex, feeling himself, whatever euphemism you want to use for, stuff. He admitted to that to Title IX investigators, which is why I think, him admitting to that, and he's like, I imagine Mel Tucker saying, well, it was consensual. There's no problem with it. And I'm thinking Mel, that's delusional. This is horrible for public relations. Horrible. Yeah. And the reason I'm my face is grinning is because it's shocking. I read that and I'm that's insane. It's crazy. I'm still processing this whole thing. I am not even a Michigan State fan. I'm a Michigan fan. I laughed when Ohio State blew out the Spartans both last year and in 2021. Those games were awesome. I'm admitting that right here. This sucks. No fan of any team or player of any team deserves this. None. Mike Loxley, LSUVS Far says, interesting hire. That he would be interesting, but I get the feeling that he'll want to stay at Maryland, if I'm being honest. But I don't know. Loxley certainly has improved off of every year he's been at Maryland. Michigan State has more resources than Maryland does. Better football program. That would be interesting. I think that Lance Leipold from Kansas, Jonathan Smith from Oregon, those would be guys you could look at. I think that, Chris Kleiman from Kansas State, maybe, depending on how Matt Campbell does this year at Iowa State, and see if he can bounce back. Maybe Matt Campbell from Iowa State. Almost hate to say this, but like, if you want, to run the football and have a Big Ten identity, Sharon Moore from Michigan. Like, you can hire a coordinator. I think he'd be a pretty good head coach. Mike Elko, Red Sand says that's a name to look out for. And I saw earlier, Nate Watson, you said you didn't expect this is how it would look. Most people say that. It's interesting. Narduzzi would be interesting. So we have 2 ACC coaches, a few Big 12 head coaches. I mean, any coach from any Power 5 conference outside of the SEC will be looking at this job as intriguing. They will. And, I mean, who knows? Maybe Michigan State does what USC or LSU did, because they do have donors. They do have people who want to invest in football. And maybe they pull a shocker, like a what the heck moment. And they get someone bigger than even I'm talking about. And they get a bomb of a hire. They could do that too. They have the resources to do that. Now, under Tucker, they didn't do that when I said that they should when hiring different coordinators, but that's a different story. Would it be worth it for PJ Fleck? Oh my gosh. Maybe it's because they're already in the Big Ten, and also because they're well established. I don't see any benefit like going for Fleck or Loxley. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe it's because it's weird since they're moving from one conference job to another. Maybe that's why I think it's weird. But yeah. I think it's also because PJ Fleck, whether it's Mike Loxley or PJ Fleck, Michigan State's going to want to. I mean, they hired Tucker, and they gave him that monstrous extension because they wanted to win. They thought they had a guy who could win championships. They're going to want to hire someone who they think can crack a Big Ten title or some top 10 New Year's Six Bowl finishes. And I don't think Fleck or Loxley will give that to you on a basis that they want. I don't think that will happen. So, Urban Meyer, can you imagine? Probably with how bad the optics have been for Michigan State University in recent memory. Part of me can't. But if they want to win, and they have enough, recruits and enough of a roster to where I think with the right head coach, they could do things. Maybe they say, you know what? Screw it. Let's let this be Urban Meyer's last ride, and they keep him under tight scrutiny and make sure he doesn't do anything. Maybe. Bob, as an MSU fan, I still cannot process how this happened to us. Jim Leonard. He could. I was surprised partially that Wisconsin didn't hire him, but he kind of led his team to be up and down after Paul Chryst was fired. Sam Pittman, ooh, I think he'd want to stay in the SEC, but he knows offensive line. He loves to run. I think that'd be a culture. That'd be a schematic fit to what MSU wants to do. Chip Kelly, well, he's going to be in conference next year. I thought of that earlier, and part of me was thinking, no, that wouldn't make sense from an offensive point of view. But so many Pac-12 teams are joining the Big Ten, where I think that the Big Ten is going to have to adapt schematically if they want to win on the road in the Pac-12. They're going to have to be more like Ohio State in some instances and run good offenses. Bill Belichick, that would be funny. He gets fired and goes to Michigan State. It wouldn't be as good of a hire as people think, though, because he'd have to recruit. And recruiting in the portal has changed so much that I think that the NFL and college football are I'd be very uneducated to say this, but interesting point of view. I think it's easier to move from college football in some instances, depending on your personality and who you are as a coach. It might be easier now to move to the NFL than to go from the NFL to college, because the transfer portal, which is sort of like free agency, of course, but you still have to recruit in high school. Like, come on. And name, image, and likeness, you got to strategically work with like who you want to pay. And scouting in high school is harder than scouting in, college, scouting college players, because you have less film to work with and less of an even playing field, much larger sample size of players. Ed Orgeron, no, absolutely not. Yeah, I will definitely, I'm going to remove this bot comment. I am definitely going to make a video this week talking about coaching candidates, like depending on the news. Obviously, if he's suspended and it seems like Alan Haller and the university want to stick beside him, which I think would be stupid, I'm not going to make that video this week. But I guarantee he will be fired, or it will be kind of, fired in waiting. And I'm going to draw up a list of different coaches, coordinators, head coaches that I think could fit at Michigan State. Saban, when he gets canned, that'd be an ironic turn of events. They more than likely will make a safe hire after this, says Blue. Marcus Freeman, Deion Sanders, that would be for Michigan State the shock hire, because they totally have the money to poach Sanders from Colorado. Michigan State has more money and more resources than Colorado does. And with the new TV deal, they probably would have more resources than Notre Dame. I mean, Notre Dame turned down Andy Ludwig as offensive coordinator because they didn't want to pay him. So who says they would, give Freeman a massive raise to prevent him from going to Michigan State? Which, that would be humiliating for Notre Dame. And M. Goboski, I already mentioned Sharon Moore. I agree with you. I think that would work. Lane Kiffin, maybe he wants to try a different conference. He's been in the Pac-12, SEC now. Now maybe he wants to try the Big Ten. He'd be consistent with the transfer portal ideology and system that's, run with Mel Tucker for the past several seasons. I think that my time here on this live stream has been long enough, in all honesty. Thank you guys for tuning in. Expect more news. The live stream about Michigan State is occurring in 3 minutes, where Alan Haller's going to be on and give an update about the football program. So, for Michigan State, my heart is with you. I still think you're a top 25 team, depending on, the coaching moves and such. The team has talent. The players, I hope that the media doesn't harass them, even though that's probably wishful thinking. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I did my best to cover this. Dabo Swinney, no, unless he changes. And I think that he will make some changes at Clemson. I don't know why. He's the second highest paid head coach in football. And with how his trajectory has been down, I don't think it would be wise to get him. I know maybe Putin snug. I know you don't think that you're that good, but looking at how Tennessee struggled against Austin Peay, how UCLA struggled against Coastal Carolina, all these different teams were in the top 25 that, have had their struggles, like Michigan State, or even worse than Michigan State. I do think that the Spartans are definitely in the top half of the Big Ten. They're definitely, in my mind, a top 6, top 5, maybe top 4 Big Ten team. Obviously number 4, because Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State are currently above everyone else in the conference. So have a great day, guys. Like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because I will be doing more live streams like this. Potentially some instant reactions, maybe in the same way that, Corn Crazed does with Nebraska, though I wouldn't interfere with his Nebraska stuff because I want to collaborate. But yeah, join the community. We're trying to reach 20,000 subscribers by the end of the season. I hope that the best possible outcome for all parties involved in this happens, in a way that is moral, just, and good. That last comment before I go. I was outside the football building today and spoke with some players. I was surprised to find that they were in a pretty good spirits. No one seemed down about this. That's good news. Hopefully that continues. Why am I underestimating Penn State? I'm underestimating Penn State Beetle because, not underestimating, I think I'm properly rating them. Maybe underestimating, because but James Franklin and Mel Tucker have the same amount of regular season top 10 wins since their tenures at their respective schools, which is, given the amount of talent Penn State has, absolutely disgraceful. So that's two. Both have 2 regular season top 10 wins since their arrivals at Penn State and Michigan State, respectively. James Franklin's a good coach. He's a great coach. He's not a near elite coach. He's certainly not an elite coach. But he could prove me wrong this year. Drew Aller looks really good. But anyway, enough of this video. Expect college football and Big Ten football content throughout the week. Yeah. Have a great day, guys. That's all I have to say. See it to believe it with PSU. I agree. Have a great day, guys. And make sure to tune in to that press conference if you're interested. Have a great day, and I'll see you all around. Bye-bye.